All right, we're back, and it is COMP305. It's week 9, lesson 9, part 4. We're rolling out the barrels, like we said, up on with Unity. So we got these barrels. I moved them around on the scene for a second, and I'm just gonna show you what I've seen so far. I've got these 3 barrels, right? 1, 2, 3. There, and I want to, when I hit these things, these barrels, wherever they are, that the explosion is going to go off and destroy the barrel. So 2 things I need to know. Where, when I'm hitting the barrel, where is the last position of my particle effect, right? Because my particle effect, because I'm destroying the actual object, my particle effect is going to hang in midair, kind of thing, right? So let's do a couple ways. We kind of did a lot at once, and we did it in this transform tag right here, right? So when I instantiate, first thing to check is the Unity API documentation. So we're going to go back to Unity, and we're going to say something like, if I put the name in, from a scripting perspective, I want to look and see if I can find instantiate. So instantiate Unity. And that's why it's so good, right? Because there's some options here. Look at this. So you're right, Kyle. Right, it's like instantiate the original position, whatever the object is, the vector 3 position, and the quaternion rotation, which I don't want to have a rotation of any kind. I want the quaternion identity to be put there, right? So there's a couple of these constructors. So one of them is the actual position that I want it to be in. So I don't have to do that second. So let's fix that in my code. So one is this transform. The explosion transform, I don't need to do that. I need to put that in there. It's going to be equal to the hit point. So that's going to be the second piece. So the second piece is my hit dot point, and then the third one is quaternion dot identity, which is going to be like no rotation whatsoever. Okay, so that's gone. So again, it's instantiate this explosion at the hit point, wherever I hit, right? Wherever I hit, that's the place where the impact's going to go. That's the place where the explosion is going to go. This is the place where the quaternion identity is going to appear, or its quaternion identity is going to be no angle. That's what it's going to be. It's going to limit my angle of rotation. All right, let's check that out and see if that fixes this piece. So I'm going to kind of rotate. I'll go back to the code in a second. All right, so we can't see the barrel. The barrel, I have to jump on the wall, see the barrel. I'm going to launch the barrel, clicking the button. First barrel is good. Second barrel is good. And then third barrel is good. Yeah.
Does hit hold the position of like even though the object is dead, like is it gonna know that was the hit position? Because maybe that was why it was.
No. Well, what's happened is I didn't have it. I just instantiated the object without a position, which means wherever I had last put it in the scene. So if I go back to the to Unity, and if I look at my prefabs, because I made the explosion a prefab, right? Notice how it's got a position, right? So I can, if I reset the position, right, of my prefab and save. So I'm saving it. Actually, the prefab itself is having a default position now. It's going to be in the 0, 0, 0 mark. That's the default position. So it's just it's not going to appear in the scene until I instantiate it, right? So if I try it again, let's try this out. And again, if I walk around, and if I can see the barrel, once I see the barrel, so like I can see the top of the barrel there. As soon as I can see the barrels, I can fire at them. Right? That's pretty good. That's 1, 2, 3. Barrel's gone, and it's going to be the exact position because of my raycasting. So let's go back to the raycasting so we can explain this piece again, because this is the piece that people must understand. So I create a raycast hit, right? And a raycast hit gets information back from the raycast, right? The raycast itself. In order for me to raycast, I need the initial starting position, which is the position of my camera, right? I need a direction, which is forward. It's the default forward position of my camera, away from my camera, basically. It's going to output or have a reference. It's going to use the hit Raycast hit as a place to store the information that I'm getting back from the line, the ray that I'm hitting with. Okay, that's where it's getting hit there. And then the last piece is how far out do I want to look? 50 units as an example, right? If I reduce this to another number, let's reduce it to 10 units. So I can't hit anything so far. It'll just show, it'll be a pop, right? So pop, 10 units. Let's see what happens now. So I've just changed that to 10. And so here we're good. Here we're good, but way down there, miss, right? Because it's too far. I can't hit this wall. My gun is, that's a short gun. It's a pistol, right? So that didn't work. Here, no problem. Here, but down there, no, right? Let's go. So now I'm gonna walk through. I'm gonna see my barrels, right? And even if I see the top of my barrel, like here, I can explode it. But if I move back a little bit, right, and I'm gonna aim for here, too far. Too far. Too far. Too far. Get that pretty close to make it explode, right? Because that's the length of my ray. My length of my ray is that last piece, which is right here. So that was 50 before. It was pretty long, right? So 50 units, which is 50 meters in Unity. It's not bad. Normally we have like 300 meters or whatever. You can make it as far as you want, right? So this thing keeps going. So you're firing at enemies way far away at another level somewhere, which is kind of like what we do, right? So that's kind of one thing we do. Yes. Yeah, because of our collider, right? And we're going to fix that collider because I noticed that as well. We're going to make it a box collider, so it's a little bit closer to, or maybe we'll make it a mesh collider. We'll see. Okay, so this is the distance, and then what happens? We're saying this: if my hit dot transform, whatever I hit, the tag of my barrel, right? If it's barrel, if it equals a barrel, then, and by the way, you can also do compare tag instead of just tag is equal. Let's just do compare tag because that's the other way to do it. That's the proper way to do it. So say we'll say transform dot compare tag, right? And that's equal to barrel. So that's the other way to do it, right? Let me get rid of this piece here. If that's true, right? If hit transform compare tag to barrel, if that's true, then maybe want to put another thing there. Then I want to destroy the object first, so it's gone. So the barrel looks like it's disappearing, number one. And the second thing is it's instantiating the explosion on the hit place, whatever the hit is, without an angle, right? Meanwhile, normally what it does, it makes the impact sound. I make my bullet impact sound, and then I change to the next available object in the pool. I could not do this. I cannot have an object pool at all and do what I'm doing here with my explosions, right? So what I'm going to do here is I need to be able to take care of my impact, right? Because I don't want it to keep firing. And the good thing about the explosion, if I look at the explosion for how this is working, if I go back to the explosion here, under my Unity, right? So let's take a look at the explosion prefab. Here it is, right? Well, if I scroll all the way down, first let's kill this particle. I have this self-destruct script that's built into it. Take a look at the self-destruct script. It says die time is equal to time dot time plus lifetime, right? And then it's equal to, if time dot time is greater than or equal to die time, then destroy the game object, destroy itself. So it destroys itself when it finishes playing, basically, is what it's going to do. That's just a self-destruct script. So I don't have to worry about destroying it. That was your problem. It would just keep playing forever. Yeah, you got to time it out. Is that?
I figured that out as well. Like I put a death script.
Some kind of death script on it, right? And the thing is, with this one, if I was to look at the script, notice that the lifetime is 5, right? So that's the first thing is you can put in the lifetime there and everything else. So that'll be the way it does. If I take this away, it won't die. Right? It'll hang out. It'll finish. Right? Let's just disable the script here and see what it does. So no self-destruct. Now it'll give me an error most likely. Let's see what happens. So it's there, but it's not active. Right? So we're just going to move back. So I've disabled the self-destruct for the explosion. Okay, go back here and then I come. Oh, there's my barrel. So bam, right? Self-destruct is disabled. Right? And then same thing goes here. Bam, I destroy that one. I can't see this one unless I jump. Let's see if I can jump into it. Oh, not quite. There we go. Some special effects just for you guys to show you that, you know, I'm an old guy, but I know how to play, right? So, you know, that worked, but there's a side effect. Let's show you the side effect that I've got. Now that I'll change my layout in play mode to back to the FPS layout for a second. And I'll go to my scene mode just for a second so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to look at my scene, and I see that there are a couple of things going on here. Right? Look at the barrels. Look at these. Now, what are these things? These little pieces here, right? I've got in my scene concrete flex 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 concrete flex plus 3 explosions that are there that are sitting there. And there's one, and there's the second one. Those are the concrete flex, right? And where's the explosion? Here's the first explosion. I don't know where that, there it is. And here's the second explosion over here, right next to the concrete flex, and there's a third one. So those are all the explosions that are sitting there. They're actually there, but they're inactive because I've disabled the self-destruct mechanism. So they're physically on the scene, but the whole explosion effect, the emitter, because it's a burst, is over. It's gone. It's just the way the emitter has been made. So it finishes. It's not a continuous object like, for example, it doesn't loop. It's just an emitter. It's just in a burst. That's what the particle system does. Okay. Well, the good thing about this is, if I want to get rid of my explosions, I have to somehow clean them up. Like, for example, I'm always going to have at least 5 of these flecks in play, right? So when I hit the stone, I'm going to have 5 flecks. If I didn't put a limit, if I just instantiated the flecks, just like I'm doing now, they would just hang out forever, right? And I would have to clean them up somehow. Like maybe after time, delta time, I would have to put a self-destruct script so they would go away. So they wouldn't be, you know, they wouldn't just hang out like that. Okay. Let's put that script back on. So I'm going to kind of go back. And this is one where I want to keep my script back on. So I'm going to go back to explosion and turn on that self-destruct script. Okay. And let's see what the problem is with my view. So somewhere down here in the back alleys of my maze, this part here, right? I've got a maze tile that I'm going to disable and take it away like that, right? So it's there, but I'm just disabling it. Let's see where the maze problem starts. If it's that maze tile or if it's this one, right? Let's see if we can find that maze problem. So we've taken the maze kind of apart a little bit just to dissect it. And then we've got our barrel. I don't want to kill the barrel yet. Okay, yes I do. Oh, wait. Okay, go over here, and there's that maze in here, and then I don't have a problem here or here. Like it's not obviously not my camera. And I'm good this way. And this is where we had our issue, but it looks to be that last tile, right? That last tile is a problem. So if I launch off here, right, as an example, you can see that I don't see any other problem anywhere else in the maze, right? But that's where it was. When I launched off, when I fell off, this last tile is where it was. And remember, I'm just making these tiles, you know, kind of putting them in play. And I want to put another one in there. So how do I do that? Well, I want to duplicate my tile. First of all, let's go back to the tile that's been disabled. And I can try and find that one that's disabled. I think it was this one. Here it is. And let's just, so I've disabled that maze tile. Let's get rid of it. So I'm just going to get rid of that first maze tile. Okay, so I've got other maze tiles in here. And what I want to do is I want to take this maze tile. Let's just switch directions here so you can see them. We'll call it this one here by clicking on it, this whole maze tile. Let's take it and duplicate it by Command or Control V. And now what I want to do is I want to move it out, right, identically to this one, but I want to shift it around. I want to rotate it because right now it's rotated to -90, right? Here's -90. I want to make it so that I rotate it 90 degrees, flip it around, and I want to use the V. I want to use my V, which is the vertical snap, right? So kind of, if you notice, vertical snapping can go at any vertice, right? And I got to be very careful that I want to vertex snap the bottom corner so that it doesn't kind of pop up anywhere. Okay, good. So there's my maze, right, that I kind of added in. And again, it's important that the position is exact, or I'll have a hole, which would be very bad, right? My scale is the same, right? And if I look at this one, it's 32, and this one is kind of weird. It's got my 32 by 32 by 16. This is 32 by 6 by something. This by 16. That's gonna be a problem, this one. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. See what I've done. All right, as I go, I'm gonna zoom into this maze tile. Do I have some kind of disfigurement in the maze? Maybe some kind of overlap. Doesn't matter. Let's even see what it does. So let's see if we fixed our problem by just putting another maze tile in there, or if it's that bloody corner, something's wrong with it. It's got a phantom corner. Run. We're gonna go over here where the barrels are. We're not gonna kill the barrels. I guess we are. We're gonna go. Oh wait, where's that? The maze has changed, right? And then here's that problem, and it's gone. All right. So something we did with that last brick, right? It kind of, I don't know, I corrupted that last brick or something, because now that I'm back in here, it looks like we're okay, huh? What do you think? Something was wrong with that maze. I should die. Actually, it's too close to the explosion, right? Okay, so cool. We have explosions. We have a maze. Let's get some points and some scoring going, which is kind of the next piece. The easiest thing to do is notice that where I have my reticule is inside my my canvas. So wherever I'm pointing my gun, I got this little reticule in here, and that's where my canvas is. I also have a problem with the barrels. Igor was saying that my barrels are messed up, right? You should probably fix that too. So let's go into the barrel, and let's just focus right on it. There it is, and kind of zoom in, and we can see that the top of the barrel has a problem because I'm using capsule collider, but the top of the barrel, it's flat, right? So it'd be nice if we had a cylinder collider, but we don't. So let's go back into the barrel itself, and if I look at the capsule collider, I mean, there's certain things I can try and do to fix it, like by expanding it up this way. So make it so that it's a little bit bigger. But the problem with this is, take a look, that I would have like this big space up here that would be like a ball, right? So that's not good. So we're going to get rid of the collider. So we're going to say capsule collider, bye-bye, and remove my component. And then we're going to force everything back to the we're going to apply everything back to the prefab. I'm going to add a component, physics, and let's try box collider is too boxy. Sphere collider is a perfect circle, right? So let's do a mesh collider and see if that helps. Mesh collider. Here we go. All right. So I'm not going to make it a convex mesh or anything like that, but that's where it's like. I can also give it a physics material. I've never seen one of these things fall, so I don't know if it's falling at the right rate or anything. Let's apply them back to the prefabs, which I have. And now I'm going to try and shoot the barrel down from the top, and I'll push it over. So let's see if I can do that. So first we'll test it. So, whoa. Where did my barrels go? They sank into the ground forever and ever. Where are you? Barrel, I want to find you, barrel. I'm falling, but I still want to fire at you. And you see how fast it goes away. And the reason for that is because of the clipping planes. So let's just, what happens there? So here's my mesh collider and my rigid body. And, let's watch and see what happens to it, right, in the scene. And you know what? Let me just bring the barrel closer to me where the player is. So I'm going to go that, player. It's over there, so kind of make this guy go over here like this and send them in the other direction. So we can see the barrel where it's going to be by dragging our scene around, right? So there it is. And here's the barrel. And we'll see what happens with the barrel. If it falls down, pull it way up here. Hopefully it's not going to fall off the world. Maybe it will. See? So that's where it's going to go. Okay, so it's way up there, so it'll give us time to see it. Bam, and yeah, so it went right through. So that's the problem that we had. The problem is that it didn't collide. Our mesh collider that we added into the barrel, it is not working. right? Because otherwise it wouldn't have stopped. It would have gone. If I make it convex, now let's see what happens. This is really crazy. Oh, there's the barrel, right? I can explode the barrel right here, right? Now the thing is, you know what? We have a really small explosion, but if I'm that close to the explosion, I should get hurt, right? So how do I know the distance between me and the explosion, right? Is there a way to figure that out? I have a distance. I know the location, and I can calculate the distance. What's the distance formula in a three-dimensional space? Does anyone remember? And Selena's like going, no, I don't. You're killing me with this math. Well, the great thing is that, let's see, you might be able to do it. You might have a vector 3, it might have a distance formula that's built in, so we can look at it. So if I go into, if I kind of do unity distance between 2 points, I got a vector 3 distance, like you said. And I can say something like this. Vector 3 distance is A and B is the same as A minus B magnitude, right? Where I say, give me a distance between first position and other position. This is really cool, right? So if I know that my distance, my vector 3 distance with these two positions, right? If it's closer than a certain amount, like closer than 2 meters or something like that, right? I don't know if maybe that might be too close. I'll get hurt. I'll make a sound like, oh, right? You know, and then take a point. If the explosion is too tight, too close. So that's the way I can do it. I can check my distance, my vector 3 distance, and do that. There's also vector 2 distance. If I go to vector 2, they also have a distance formula as well. Here it is. So vector 2 distance. This is really cool. So we don't have to write our own distance formula when we do our collisions. If you ever want to try collisions by distance, you can do it that way too, right? The other thing you can do is that you can assign a collider to the explosion, right? Now this is kind of neat. So you can instantiate, you know, you can make the collider come into being, right, when the explosion is fully formed, right? And if the collider collides with you, which means you can actually, like, you know, be outside of the range. Because otherwise you're checking the distance all the time, right? Which is kind of weird. So how would I do that? So I don't have a collider right now for my explosion. If I go back to my explosion, my explosion doesn't have a collider, but I can put a trigger collider in play, right, on my explosion that's a sphere that gets instantiated or turned on, enabled, if you will, when the explosion is almost finished, when it's kind of done, and we have to time it and everything else. So that's one way to do it. I'm not going to show you how to do that right now, but that's one thing you could check. And if the explosion is big enough, that's pretty good. You can also add one thing I didn't do with my object is I didn't do any kind of blowback. I didn't actually add any physics effect to the explosion. Like, there's nothing that's going on. It sounds neat, it looks neat, but there's no actual physics effect. It doesn't actually blow up anything, right? So it doesn't like make things, you know, scatter or anything like that. It's just a cinematic explosion. That's all it does. Okay, let's get some points before we go and set this up. So one thing to note is we have our canvas, right? And we have a bunch of other stuff around it. But in our canvas, we have an image. Let's add a text object in here as well. So I'm going to say, kind of in our canvas, I'm going to add in a UI text. And there it is, UI text. If I want to look at the text object, it's way out here, right? This is our text object. And if I was to look at the game itself, the text appears in the middle, right? There's the text, new text. So if I was to play this thing, you see the text will follow us around everywhere. So there's the text, right? So that's how it works with the thing. We have to set up this new text object somewhere. And this, we're going to call this our score. And let's make it a different color so we can wrap it up so it looks like a certain thing. So our color is going to be kind of like way out here like this. And maybe yellow, just like our reticule. And we'll make the text much bigger than this. So we'll make it like 40 big. Right now, our horizontal overflow is a wrap and everything else. So, but we have our object, and how do I access my object here in the scene, because here's a scene. And if I was to rotate this thing, so if I'm going to find my text on my scene, notice how the anchors are kind of in the middle. It's in my canvas renderer. I also have a width and a height. You know, my height right now is 30. I might as well make it 50 so we can start seeing it. Definitely 50 for there, and our width has to be more than that, like maybe 200. Want to kind of make that out, and then let's like see it in the scene. So if I press F, there's our score right now in the scene, and I'm focused on my score, not my image, so I can move this thing around by moving around the scene. So think about this big canvas. This is going to be my scene in two-dimensional space, and I want my score to appear in the top left corner of my screen, which is kind of out here, right? Remember, this is the other way to do it. We did it the other way with our game, right? There it is. Because we did a pixel perfect game. So that is our score, and we're going to put in there kind of our little colon there, and we're going to name this thing, this object, score. It's a game object. It's a text object, UI text. All right. So our score is going to change whenever we hit it. We're going to access this score object. Right? And how do I do that? Right now it's untagged, right? And I want to be able to find this by tag name if I want to do that. So where it says untagged, I want to tag it as our score, right? So let's add a new tag, and we'll click in a new tag to call this the score, right? And then we go back to our score itself, and we'll tag it as a score. So now we can find this thing, right? Because we've tagged it. And I'll save the scene, and when I play, I'm going to have the score on the top left kind of corner of my screen. Now, it's maybe not exactly where I want it. Maybe a little bit even more to the left would be nice. But we're playing in free aspect mode, and if I go to 16:9, look what happens to my score. She cut off, man. She cut off, right? So that's an issue, right? And if I go to something else like 4:3, that's okay. My score is in there. 4:3 works fine. 16:10. That's okay, but 16:9, which is kind of a standard view, she cut off. She cut off, man. Right? So that's a problem. So let's fix that. Let's go back to our game view. Sorry, this view here, and you can see that one of the things that I have is that my score is way out here. I've changed my aspect ratio, right? And when I do so, you can see that my score floats way above. So if I want to make it so that my score is going to be within the scene, if it's 16:9, in the top left corner, I can make it like that, and I play, then now it'll be kind of floating in the middle, 16:9, right? And I have to kind of adjust it. Now, let me ask you this question. What's this? Remember, we did all this other thing. We moved the position, but I have kind of my position in the middle, right, for where my score is. What if I move this to the top left? Right, so here's my top left. So I can move that position top left and see what happens now. Right, so now here it is. There's the top left, right? So now it's whenever my screen is, it's in the top left corner of my screen. If I hit 16:10, still the top left. If I go 5:4, top left. If I go which I'm gonna call standalone, top left. And if I go, free aspect, top left, which is really what I want. Okay, so that's kind of cool. So top left is where I want the score to be. Okay, let's add the other one, and then we'll kind of finish off next week because we're running out of time right now. So I'll add another UI component. Actually, I'll just copy this UI component here. I'm going to kind of do Command D to copy it and move it across to this side, right? But I can't put it exactly top right because if I go top right like this, that means it'll always be near the right, right? And then let's rename this thing from score. Rename from score to life. Right, so I have my life. Right, so, and we'll name this thing life so we can see it. So I got score and life. And now when I play, I'll see that it's in my top right corner of my screen, right? So it's. But now you see that the score and the life is kind of in play, and the reason why is it's there is because we've got, like we were showing before, it's a canvas. That's where our reticule is. So actually the reticule, this little middle point, and the life and the score are all part of the same canvas. So that's why it doesn't mess us up. Okay, so next day we get together, we'll fix the score up and we'll access it like before. One thing to note is my life also has a tag of score. I got to change that. So I'm going to go back into add tag before we finish for the day and add another tag, which we're going to call life. And now that we've got our life finished, we're going to go back into our life object and tag it as life, and then save the scene. We're going to file, save the project, and we're going to go to Unity and quit. And once we've done that, we're going to go back into the terminal, and I'm going to say git add dot git commit -m. And we'll say fixed explosion and wonky tile. Right? That's a wonky tile that we have, man. All right, git push origin master. And now you have everything that I have for your project. You have a good start. This is a good template start for you to make your game. Please make your own level, right? You can use the assets that I've given you. You can make your own assets, but make it so that there's a reason for being. You're not just trying to shoot the barrels to get out. There's got to be a reason why you're making your game. And we'll get back to it. When I see you next time, I believe your assignment is due week 10, which is next week, right? If I'm not wrong. Assignment 3. Because I gave it to you week 8, right? So, is it? Next Friday, yeah, next Friday. No, this is not that part. This is your assignment 3, which is December 4th is for your project. Your first part of your project is due December 4th. Right? This one is for your assignment 3, and then from then on, we're going to be adding additional things. Next week, we're going to be talking about terrain. I want to talk about building another level, doing some procedural mapping, that kind of stuff, so we can do a couple more things for my little game that I'm making.
Yeah, but we actually can't make actual enemies.
Oh yeah, we can.
This AI,
no AI. No, we have to make it simple, like a simple walk or whatever, right? So,
yeah,
all right, we'll see you next week.